hello dear ones, it's Sarah. So today we're going to do a little unboxing video. So I've just got this, one sec. Permanent marker just to mark out my details, and then we'll do the unboxing. So if you haven't watched my channel before, welcome. And if you like fast tapping and scratching, that's certainly something I always do in my videos. It's quite a strong smell, this packaging. Cool. Oh, Amazon, I don't know you've been keeping your packaging, but it smells a bit fusty. Remove the box. Okay, so this is a book I ordered for my diploma course. I'm training to be a psychotherapist. And this is Counselling Skills and Theory. So we were given a reading list by our tutor of recommended books, and this actually wasn't on the list, but it incorporates the 3 modalities that we're currently looking at and analysing. So I thought this was a good deal. I will invest in the other ones at a later date. three modalities that we're currently looking at is person-centered therapy, which is known as the talking therapy, and that comes under humanistic psychology. And the founder of that is Carl Rogers. And that's the theory that a client that comes to see a therapist has everything they need within them to empower themselves and grow and overcome any issues they may have. So, unlike other modalities, in person-centered, it is the job of the counsellor to facilitate the client and help them discover their own answers. No advice is given from the counsellor. And that's the one on this course that we primarily look at. I guess because out of all the modalities, person-centered is the easiest, I suppose, to learn. The next one we're looking at is psychodynamics, which I'm sure many people will have heard of, and obviously Sigmund Freud. The theory that what needs to be resolved is buried deep in our subconscious, and there's 3 layers to that. There's the id, the ego, and the superego. And it's Freud that gives the analogy of our minds as like an iceberg, where you only see the tip of the iceberg and much further of it is underwater. And that's when he's referring to the consciousness, the subconscious. I think I've got that right. My brain's a bit foggy after work. And the last modality we're looking at is CBT, short abbreviation for cognitive behavioural therapy. And that is a modality that's good at looking at distortions we may have. It's very effective, or can be, for things like phobias, fears of flying, fears of going outside, fears of spiders. It also can be good for anxiety and depression. Essentially taking ways of thinking and unbreaking them and creating new ways of thinking. So whereas person-centered is very client-led, psychodynamics and CBT are very counsellor-led, whereas there could be homework that you're given to do and instructions. In here, this is the Counselling Skills and Theory, 4th edition by Margaret Hull. And the topics include the key aspects of counselling, skills and approaches, psychodynamic counselling, post-Freudian psychodynamic counselling, humanistic approaches, Gestalt therapy, transactional analysis, so these are all different modalities, cognitive behavioural therapy, and then there's a chapter on ethical considerations. So it covers the 3 modalities I need, but it also looks at the ethics and theory side of it, which I have to write an essay on. So I know many people that watch ASMR struggle with anxiety. So let's look at CBT. So 237 page. Okay. So here's a key term I'll read to you, and it's entitled cognition, and it says the experience of thinking, reasoning, perceiving and remembering. And it's early behaviour therapy highlighted observable behaviour only, while cognitive behaviour therapy stresses that thinking affects how we feel and what we do. So thinking, especially within the realms of anxiety, can be very detrimental to our mental health and to every aspect of our life. That's something I've been looking in on the sidelines to my course, because I've suffered with it over the years. I'm sorry if you can hear the bangs. I'm filming this on bonfire night in England. I know that's not something other countries celebrate. Bonfire night, for any of the people that don't know, is every year on November the 4th. We build bonfires and we burn, and then we set fire to them, and we often have fireworks and certain foods that are associated with bonfire night, such as toffee apples, and I remember as a child having jacket potatoes wrapped in tin foil, and we'd just put them in the bonfire to cook. And the reason why we celebrate this is because I'm going to forget the date, 16 something, there was an attempt to blow up the Houses of Parliament by someone called Guy Fawkes. And luckily this was prevented, but ever since then, every year we build a bonfire and we build a kind of dummy of a person stuffed with newspaper or something, and that's the burning of Guy Fawkes. I guess a little bit like saying, you didn't get the Houses of Parliament, so every year we're going to burn you, which on reflection I suppose isn't really a great tradition. But the Houses of Parliament is where our MPs meet people. I guess you'd say it was similar to the House of Senate in America, in Washington. Yeah, where all distinguished people in government meet to hold talks and briefs and discuss whatever they discuss. So this is just giving me a background on cognitive behavioural therapy, where it was conceived and different areas where it can be helpful. And then there's actually some case studies with some can see an outline of a counsellor and a client talking. So two of the areas that I mentioned in cognitive, I'm going to say CBT, is something called catastrophizing, and that's something, if you suffer from anxiety, that you probably do daily many times and don't even realise. And catastrophizing is taking a problem that may arise, no matter how small or big, and kind of feeding it this story that until you've blown it so far up that you're actually experiencing physical symptoms of anxiety. And that's something that's very common, and it's learning through CBT to stop and stand back from your thoughts and observe what you're actually thinking and asking yourself, is this true? Could this really happen? Because as soon as people often think that you are your thoughts, but you're not. Your thoughts don't control you, you control your thoughts. But what's happened is we've allowed them to run on autopilot. So I'll give you an example of catastrophizing. Say you live with your partner and they always arrive home at, say, 6 o'clock. And tonight it gets to 6:10 and they're still not back. And because you suffer from anxiety, you start to worry, you start to think, oh, it's not like them. And say they always call if they're going to be late, and you check your phone and there's no phone call. So those fear thoughts start to manifest and get bigger. And say you try to ring your partner and they don't answer the phone, and then before you know it, you're envisioning that they've been in a car accident or something serious, and you can't control it. And then you start feeling the effects of them you start seeing them as being in a car accident, and then you start feeling your heart starts racing, and maybe you're struggling to swallow, and maybe you feel a bit hot or dizzy. And then 5 minutes later, your partner walks through the door and, he says to you, oh, I got stuck in traffic and my phone died, my battery died. And that's catastrophizing, because your brain doesn't distinguish between what's real and what's not real. So if you catastrophize and build something up like that situation, you're going to experience the anxiety from it, even though it's not true, even though you have no clear idea, clear proof that your partner was in an accident. And that's the difference. Whereas someone who doesn't suffer from anxiety at 6:10 wouldn't be thinking those things. They'd just be thinking, oh, he's probably late or held up. And they'd probably give them another half an hour and then call them. So it's about becoming aware of your thoughts before they kind of pile on top of each other, and saying, is this true? Can I really believe this is going to happen? And what other situations could there be, such as he got stuck in traffic, or his battery died, or he got held up at work, he stopped off at a supermarket. There's many other areas. There's also something called black and white thinking, and something called I should have or I shouldn't have. Often we do that with anxiety. I should have done this, or I shouldn't have said that. you suffer from anxiety, it's one of the best places to start with, is try and become aware of your thoughts when you're starting to overthink. And it's great if you write them down as well. You know, what am I fearing may happen? Do I know this to be true? Are there any other outcomes of this? And just that, doing that alone can have a real impact and lowering of your anxiety. The other thing I want to stress about anxiety is often we think there's nothing we can do about it. But I want to assure you that nobody is born with anxiety. Nobody. It's a learned behaviour, and anything that is learned can be unlearned. And it is possible to overcome it. Most definitely. I've come a long way through dealing with anxiety, and I feel like I'm at the other side now. So I may do a kind of role play video on it if anyone's interested. Another good thing to do is look at anxiety as not an enemy, because it is a part of you. Anxiety is essentially unresolved stories in your subconscious. It's things that you've never resolved and they keep coming up. And the emotions that you feel when you have a bout of anxiety is your subconscious pushing them back up because it wants you to resolve them, because your subconscious doesn't like unresolved stories. And sometimes it's good that you can take a step back, because you may have lived with anxiety for many, many years, and just to know that it's not this invisible enemy. It can be tamed. Okay, guys. Ow, my foot's gone to sleep. Right, I better go and do some reading. So take care out there, and if you are suffering from anxiety, have a look at some resources, talk to a friend, go and see a therapist. Just, as I said, no one is born with anxiety. It's a learned behaviour, and it can be unlearned. It's not going to be overnight, but there's things you can put into practice right now that can help. Okay. Take care, everybody.